How to become the woman everyone wants. There's something haunting about crying alone in your room. You look in the mirror afterward. Your face is puffy, your eyes are red, but that's not what breaks your heart. It's that you don't recognize the woman looking back at you. Not the woman who always smiles to keep everyone happy. Not the one who says yes when she really means no. Not the one who hides how she really feels just so people will like her. In that moment, something inside you breaks. But here's what most people don't realize. Something new is also beginning. Carl Jung, the famous psychologist, once said something powerful. The soul longs for wholeness, not perfection, not validation, but wholeness. But to get to that wholeness, you have to go through a breakdown first. That's when all the masks you've been wearing finally fall off. That's when you realize you've been living for everyone else except yourself. This is what Jung called individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are. It doesn't start with fireworks or a grand revelation. It starts quietly, with a deep inner voice telling you to stop performing and finally listen to yourself. So many women spend their entire lives trying to be loved by being nice, soft, and obedient, but they still feel empty inside. Why? Because they've never actually lived as their true selves. Think about all the roles you play: the good girl, the perfect mom, the people pleaser. These aren't bad things, but when they become your only identity, they start to suffocate you. Jung called these roles archetypes, patterns we all carry in our minds. There's the lover, the mother, the maiden, the wise woman. Each one has value. But when just one of them takes over your whole life, you lose your balance. And underneath all those roles lives what Jung called the shadow, the parts of yourself you've been told to hide, your anger, your sensuality, your boldness. For most women, these traits are labeled as too much, so they bury them deep inside until they explode in breakdowns, depression, or just feeling completely numb. Jung said something that might change how you see your struggles. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life, and you'll call it fate. Real change begins when you stop being afraid of your shadow and start listening to what it's trying to tell you. When a woman starts awakening to her truth, her life becomes chaotic. Some days she won't know who she is anymore. She might lose friends. She might feel completely alone. But in that confusing in-between space, her real self begins to form. The darkness isn't your enemy, it's your guide. As Jung said, you don't become enlightened by imagining light, but by making the darkness conscious. When you finally allow yourself to feel the things you've buried, the sadness, the rage, the desire, something powerful happens. You start living honestly. I know a woman who spent years being the perfect wife and mom. Then one day, she broke down for no clear reason. But instead of numbing the pain with distractions, she started writing. She took long walks alone. She started painting. And slowly, she found a part of herself she had completely forgotten. That was her real self. Not the version everyone else wanted her to be, but the one that felt truly alive. The woman who rises from her own darkness doesn't come back the same. She doesn't seek approval from others. She doesn't try to be liked by everyone. She starts setting boundaries. She says no without feeling guilty. She protects her peace. And here's what's strange. That's exactly what makes her magnetic. She might not be the loudest or most beautiful woman in the room, but she carries a quiet energy that draws people in. Not because she's perfect, but because she's real. This inner power comes from what Jung called integration, allowing all your parts to exist at the same time. You are not just one role. You are many things at once. You can be the lover, passionate and alive, the mother, nurturing and warm, the magician, wise and intuitive, and the maiden, playful and free. You don't need to choose just one. You don't need to explain yourself. You are allowed to be all of them. One day, you might crave silence and solitude. The next day, you want to dance or cry or create something beautiful. Listen to each part. They're all you. As this transformation happens inside you, your outer world starts to change too. Relationships that no longer match your truth begin to fall away. People might say you've changed. And they're right. You have. But you also start attracting deeper connections with people who have walked through their own fire. They don't need small talk. They meet you soul to soul. Jung called this synchronicity, when the outside world begins to match your inner truth. Your dreams become clearer. Your intuition gets sharper. You stop living by everyone else's schedule and start living by your own rhythm. A whole woman doesn't need to be chosen by someone else. She chooses herself, and that is what makes her truly powerful. She doesn't live to please others. She doesn't make herself smaller to fit in. She doesn't apologize for her depth. She carries both her light and her shadow and walks with grace because of it. If you're in the middle of this journey right now, if your life feels messy, uncertain or painful, I want you to know something important. You're not breaking down, you're becoming. Every time you speak your truth, even when your voice shakes. Every time you say no when you mean no, even when people don't like it. Every time you stop apologizing for who you are, you take one step closer to becoming that woman. Not for others, but for yourself. And maybe, just maybe, that is the kind of woman everyone wants to be near. Not because she tries to be loved, but because she finally loves herself. The journey to wholeness isn't easy, but it's the most important work you'll ever do, because at the end of it, you'll finally recognize the woman in the mirror. And she'll be beautiful, not because she's perfect, but because she's authentically, completely you. If this message spoke to something deep inside you, don't keep it to yourself. Like, share, and subscribe, not just for more content, but to join a growing space where truth, healing, and self-discovery matter. This is Psyche Thera, and your journey is just beginning.